It's that time of the week again, broadcasting from a beautiful basement in Burbank, CA. This is Frame Rate, and I'm your host, Kyle Pendleton. This is a show about dumb movies for people that love dumb movies. We ain't talking the business. We ain't talking box office. I guess those are the same thing. It's not Oscar picks. We're talking about the movies that moved us, and in this case, an actor that moved mountains. 90% of the time, this podcast, we're talking good reasons, and this guy that we're going to talk about today might not be great in these movies, but we loved having him in the movies for the last 20, 25 years. Every week, we got a topic, a ranking, a draft, or whatever else we come up with, and this week, we're going to talk the top 5 Vin Diesel movies of all time with our guest, my friend and coworker, Logan McCraw. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Kyle. I'm so looking forward to this.
Okay, so let's do a little warm up. What's the last movie you saw for the first time and truly loved?
Last movie I saw that I truly loved. It made me think Weapons popped up on Max the other day, and I was like, man, that movie was really good.
Yeah, that movie was super awesome.
Kind of blew me. And then I saw Good Boy, the dog one, and it really impressed me.
My 72-year-old aunt saw that and loved it. She also texted me about it. So now I got 2 people from very different demographics that have recommended to me. So I guess I got to check it out. Not for this podcast, but what was the last movie you rewatched?
Oh, I just rewatched Poltergeist.
Did it hold up?
Yes, I was impressed, and I forgot. I realized because my parents hate horror movies, and so I didn't watch any growing up. And I was like, why did we watch Poltergeist? It's because it's one of the few PG horror movies, and my parents are really strict on that rating thing.
Oh, that makes sense. I actually didn't see Poltergeist until I was an adult, but I also did watch it with my father. My fun fact is that a lot of it, even though the house is in the Valley, is filmed in my hometown of Irvine, California. So shout out Irvine. Now, I'm going to hit you with a hypothetical question.
Perfect.
Okay. Would you rather be a car in the Cars universe or a Transformer that can't transform in our world but like with Transformers? So I guess the Transformers universe. I just wanted to note you're not on Cybertron.
Okay, well, am I stuck in the car form or am I just big robot?
Stuck in the car form. You have to be a car either way. You could pick the car both ways, by the way.
No,
Plane is also fine because both of them, Car World and Transformers World, have planes as an option.
You gotta be in the Cars world because in the Transformers world, you're just like almost a crippled Transformer. Like everyone's just gonna be like, "Ha, look at that dude! He's stuck as a car.
He can't transform."
Plus, I will say, Cars was like my favorite Pixar movie as a kid. So I imagine being in the Cars universe so much as a kid.
What type of car are you gonna be?
I would be a race car, something like Lightning McQueen. You can't not be. I mean, that's the whole point of 2 of the 3 of those movies.
I think I'd want to be as big of a truck as possible.
Just like Mac.
Yeah, but like I don't want anybody living inside me.
Well, he doesn't live inside you. He lives in your...
I don't even want guests.
It's like, you know, the dads who like ride with the little things on the back of the bike and the kids just sitting there. That's essentially what you are.
Have you ever seen a motorcycle in any of the 3 Cars movies?
Dang. No.
I don't think so. I guess that could be Cars 4. Anyways, I never thought about that. So now my on-topic question for this episode is Vin Diesel's real name, Mark Sinclair. How did he come up with Vin Diesel?
There's this story where he talks about it because everyone jokes like, oh, Diesel, you know, Fast and Furious. That's where that came from. But I want to say I don't remember what the story is because he has a twin brother who has like a very normal name that isn't Diesel and everything. And they are twins, so they look exactly alike. And I always think it's funny. You knew your brother is something for so long, and then you have to turn around and call him Vin Diesel every single time. Looking at a mirror and going, that's not your name. But
because he goes by Vin to his friends and family.
Well, he goes by Vinny. We all know him as Vinny.
Okay.
You know, Vinny D.
Vinny D, the GOAT. Well, that's kind of what we're going to be discussing today. He may not actually be the GOAT.
I don't know what you're talking about. He definitely is.
He might be. So let's jump right in. So at number 5 in our top 5 Vin Diesel movies of all time ranking is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now the audience doesn't really know you, but here at Frame Rate we do. And we know that you're a big time Marvel and Guardians of the Galaxy fan. So take us through the excitement. Did it deliver? How'd you feel about this movie?
Okay, because I'm like an extra nerd about the MCU and everything, I knew essentially that most of their contracts were ending for this movie. So I went into that movie stressed out of my mind. I went with friends in college, and by the end of it, I was like a soaking wet mess because I was just sweating the entire time. I get so nervous in those movies when I think characters are going to die. So I will say that was one of the few that I was impressed that no one died. I was just ready for it. I was like, oh, I called it. I was like, Drax is dead. Nebula's dead. They're going to kill Mantis. And then all of a sudden, it was like by the end, they're all live and dancing. And I was just not ready for it. But I think it's funny to talk about Vin Diesel specifically in those movies because he really doesn't do a lot.
It's the perfect use of him.
It really is. Like, you don't need him to do anything, which is why he's so good.
You just got to say, I am Groot. My thing with Guardians 3 is that, and it kind of happened, and this is for Peacemaker Season 2, James Gunn loves to kill characters off in the first section of whatever he's writing, because by the end, he's like completely in love with the characters, and then they're always having the dance part. If you make it through like Season 2 of a James Gunn property, you're probably in it for the long haul, but that first season is treacherous for everybody involved. But in Guardians 3, we didn't really know that yet, so I really thought they were all going to be goners, and I honestly thought Groot was burned into a crisp. I thought they were getting Vin Diesel out of there.
See, I stand by. They probably have enough voice recordings of Vin Diesel that you could never cast Vin Diesel again and just reuse his lines for every single movie that comes forward.
So you just never have to work with him?
Yeah,
you could get the benefit of Vin.
They did recast him for What If. They did not bring back Vin Diesel for, I want to say it was Season 2. They just had someone else doing it, and honestly, you could not tell a difference.
Oof. That's a bummer for our boy. That's a bummer for our boy. We'll talk more about our personal relationships with Vin Diesel when we get to a movie where he's actually in it. But I do want to throw out there that a couple weeks ago, Vin Diesel posted on Instagram that he has these, and I'll list them all, projects in development, and I want you to tell me how many that you think are real. So first, he has Groot's return in the Arbor King.
God, no. He's done this so many times with Groot where he's constantly being like, Marvel Studios just approved Planet X, Origins of Groot, and it's like, no, they didn't. Like, you were lucky enough to get your little spin-off shorts, which I can't believe they actually paid you to do.
Do you think there's anyone in the world that is convinced that Groot can be the star of a movie as a solo other than Vin Diesel? Do you think he even has a single person in his corner about this?
He probably has people in his corner because he pays him to, but I doubt anyone actually out there is like, yes, this is what I want. I want a movie about a creature that can only say 3 words, and he never says anything else during the entirety of the movie.
Whoa.
It's like Good Boy, but just with a giant tree that can only say, I am Groot. And I doubt you're going to get the range of emotions from Groot that you did from that dog in that movie.
I 100% agree. Though Groot did make me cry when he says we are Groot in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, but we'll get to that stuff later.
I do like when he says, I love you guys in the end of Guardians 3,
yeah.
even though I didn't really understand it in the moment and had to think about it the second time I watched it. And I went, oh, it makes sense to me now.
I think that's the thing is there that they all speak his language now, right?
Well, the idea is the audience has now spent enough time with him. Because the idea with Groot is you don't actually learn his language. If you just spend enough time with him, it just all of a sudden makes sense. So the idea is, as an audience, you've spent enough time with these characters that now you too can understand Groot. Now, when Groot shows up in the next Doomsday and next Avengers movie, we will not be able to understand him anymore. And he will just continue saying, I am Groot.
That begs the question of, in Infinity War, now I forget which character introduces themselves to Groot. I think it's Captain America, seeming like they already know what he's saying. Is that just because he's just a cool guy?
No,
or is it just poor writing?
It's because Thor goes, oh, this is my friend, and he says, I am Groot, and Steve thinks he's introducing himself, so he goes, I am Steve Rogers. Okay. He doesn't understand him. He just goes, oh, this tree talk to me, and I'm incapable of understanding. But I will say there's a contradiction in that, in which Thor says he took Groot in like college or something, which technically doesn't make sense because if you just eventually understand their language being around him enough. So why would you have to learn a language that eventually you'll just naturally understand?
I think that actually makes a ton of sense, and I'm going to get sidetracked here for a second. But you have to consider that Thor was the prince like a god prince of the world, they weren't giving him the hardest college classes. Like, he was basically a fail son to the point where we saw him in the movie. Like, yeah, he's great with the hammer, but Odin was really damn old and he hadn't given up the throne. And I think it's because Thor in college he was only taking Groot. He wasn't, I'm sure he was drinking a lot. He wasn't paying attention to his studies. And I think that that's more of an indictment on Thor's commitment to the educational grind. Loki was taking 8 different languages and really busting his ass for the grade. I think that that's my opinion there.
That's pretty good. You're definitely right. There's clearly a differential between those brothers.
So the other project that he announced is called, there's 4 more. One of them is called Infamous New York Detective. And this led me a lot of things because that is so vague.
I was going to say, is that supposed to be the title or the plot summary?
Who knows, but is it a real New York detective that did something infamous, or is he trying to reprise a role of like Humphrey Bogart in Maltese Falcon?
No, this is a continuation off the Groot thing. It's Groot as a New York detective.
New York detective hanging out with Daredevil.
Exactly.
So that would be perfect. Then there's also Calder's Oath, which what I'm really confused about is that he said something, and I'll spell it for the audience, and I could not figure out what this was. It's KAULDER''S oath. And I was like, oh, is that him returning to Chronicles of Riddick? But then he mentions another Chronicles of Riddick thing called the Furion at the end. So, Vin, what the hell is that? Like, you have to let us into the project. We need to know what it is in order for us to understand.
There's a chance it's a D&D thing. Because I know Vin Diesel is a big D&D guy. That's where The Last Witch Hunter comes from, because it's his character that he plays in D&D.
Could it be a sequel to The Last Witch Hunter?
No, because I think that's a completely separate project that he has also announced on multiple Instagram posts, which apparently might actually happen and might bring Michael Caine out of retirement for The Last Witch Hunter 2, which I think is just shameful.
He would come back for the Odyssey? But he would come back for The Last Witch Hunter 2?
Well, him and Vin Diesel are like best friends. They're like the one movie with what's his name from Breaking Bad?
Oh, Bryan Cranston?
Bryan Cranston and Kevin Hart, where he takes care he like takes care of him because he's paraplegic. It's like Vin Diesel does that to like Michael Caine, and it's such a weird relationship. Like, how do those two know each other?
That's kind of lovely, but it is notable how, well, I'm going to save it. We are going to do a Fast and Furious section a little later. I have no problem with spoiling these top 5 Vin Diesel movies for the audience because there's really only 5 worth watching. They already know what's on the list.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about his ability to act with older people rather than people younger than him, and I'll deliver my theory on that later, so just hold that thought. He also announced another project for Xander Cage in Mumbai, which would be XXX4, I believe, at that point. And
yes.
He said the street racers are going to get reunited in L.A., which has to be Fast and Furious 10 Part 2. And I do think that one will happen, but what do you think, XXX4?
No, it will never. I mean, I know those movies are like cult classics or whatever, or at least the first one is considered more of a cult classic, but it's just Vin Diesel's thing has always been, what franchise can I get off the ground to make me so much money? And he tried with Riddick, XXX, and Fast and Furious, and one clearly succeeded more than the others. That's just been his job. Yes, those 3 movies in which everyone can tell you all 3 titles because all 3 titles make sense. It just is, I don't know. XXX, I don't think will ever happen again. I don't think anyone's ever like chomping at the bit for that. Like any of that series.
I'd be kind of down if they brought back Ice Cube, just because.
Well, didn't they in the 3rd one? Aren't they both XXX in it?
Oh, see, I didn't even see that one, so maybe I wouldn't be down if I already saw that in memory hold it. But we don't need to talk any more about XXX. Let's go to our number 4 on the list, The Iron Giant. Classic kids movie. You were telling me before the podcast that your memory of the Iron Giant is actually somewhat surprising.
Well, because I watched it when I was a kid. I was young enough that I didn't know who Vin Diesel was or the concept of voice actors for characters. You just watch it with the idea of, oh, this is like whatever. But I do only think Iron Giant now. I think of the Multiverses video game in which you can just turn into a giant and take over half the screen.
And was that a good character?
Yeah, it was great. But I stand by. I know everyone goes, oh, Saving Private Ryan is his best. I think Iron Giant is his best performance.
Oh, dang.
I will stand by that any day. I mean, it's his highest rated movie, I think, out of anything he's done. but it suits his acting the best, I think, in which it's a low, gravelly voice, slowly talking, and this character that I guess not smart is not the right description, but learning.
Like Oscar Isaac in X-Men Apocalypse, learning. But no, I love the Iron Giant. I mean, launched Brad Bird's career, which included Incredibles, Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, which I still think is the best Mission Impossible. But Iron Giant, I think, is kind of the proof of concept for Groot in the sense of he can somehow nail the one line that makes you cry, even though he seems to have no other capabilities as an actor. Like when he says Superman at the end, it's like all the emotions you could possibly have are pouring into your eyeballs for unknown reasons. As one of our coworkers says, he doesn't cry. It's just what happens when men watch anime. But that, I think, is the feeling that Iron Giant gives to most people that watch it. I think it's also, I love the art style, like that kind of Cold War feel. And I love that even though it came out in the 90s, it was still done in a popular art style of the 50s and 60s. So I think that just the whole thing is so clever. And one thing that we were talking about today is that neither of us realized that Jennifer Aniston was in the movie.
No, I mean, she voices the mom, right?
Which at the time was probably, like, her name was probably on the poster.
Oh, for sure.
She has been kind of forgotten to time as the mom in Iron Giant.
I thought you were going to say in general, and I was like, yeah, no one thinks of her anymore.
No, shout out Jennifer Aniston. I haven't watched The Morning Show. Probably won't. But, I guess shout out. Anyways, Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel is the guy. He is the Iron Giant.
Now, the question is, if they ever make a sequel to that, because I think it would be relatively easy, they would have to get Vin Diesel back. Do you think he would require more of a speaking role, though?
Oh, yeah, 100%. This is the thing, is that we're going to break open the Fast and Furious box a little bit right now, but he, legitimately thinks that those movies should be Academy Award nominated. I think it's very clear in 8 and 9 that he separated himself from the rest of the cast. Most likely, the studio was willing to do that because it's difficult to work with. But he's going for an Oscar.
Oh,
he's got multiple scenes where he's crying, and he's mentioned that he doesn't know why Furious 7 didn't win Best Picture that year multiple times. And so, if he brings back to Iron Giant an actual acclaimed movie, I think he's going to be I made everybody cry the first time. Let me just rip it the whole time.
I want the second one to happen where the Iron Giant opens up and it's just real in live action. Vin Diesel hops out and it's just everything else is animated still, but you have Vin Diesel come out and he gives a speech. Just a giant monologue about family, and then he goes back into the suit, and then no one ever addresses it for the rest of the movie. But that's Vin Diesel's chance to win his Oscar.
I think that only works if the monologue is legitimately 10 minutes. It's like Mia Goth and Pearl, where the last 10 minutes of the movie are just her speaking, but it's just Vin Diesel as the Iron Giant. I think you should also call for world peace at one point, and yes. So the Iron Giant movie that I really love, but there's not that much to the making of the movie. He was not a real big actor at the time. He just got hired for it. He did the role, did a great job. So I want to ask you kind of an outside question about Vin Diesel.
Okay.
What's your all-time favorite Vin Diesel moment? Could be in a movie, could be outside of the movies.
Well, I know we all remember during COVID when movies weren't in theaters and everyone was trying to get us back. And I remember for F9, the Fast Saga, the preview included Vin Diesel driving up in a car and going, "We all love the movies. We got to go back to the movies." So every time I go to the movies with my dad, we go the movies. Because there's that SNL skit where they parodied it.
Oh, yeah, it's really
good. My dad and I were dying. It's every time Nicole Kidman and she mentions movies, it's literally my dad and I looking over at each other and going, the movies.
And that brings us to your theory of how they should do a Nicole Kidman Vin Diesel crossover at AMC.
Stand by the Nicole Kidman. I like the Nicole Kidman AMC thing. I'm not a clap at it type person, but I do think it's funny.
How dare you?
I stand by every year. It needs to be like James Bond where they hire someone new to do it. And so every year it's a big reveal of who's going to be the new AMC mascot, and it should be at the beginning of the year, they have the old one handed off to the new one. So there's one for 1 month at the beginning of the year. You get one where they're both there, and it's a really dramatic Furious 7 ending where one of them drives off into the sunset, and the other one's now it's my franchise. Now it's my time to shine.
I think it should just be Nicole with somebody. It's always been my theory.
Oh, that, she should stick around?
She should stick, and she should have a different sidekick, and it has to start with Vin. I think it should also like go back and forth between whether the person is a good pairing with Nicole or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could do Nicole and Vin, you could do like Nicole and Michael B. Jordan. He's talented. They'll probably make it work. She's really talented. They'll make it work together. And then you need to give Nicole and like Kim Kardashian. Just see what Nicole Kidman could do in that situation. You need to challenge her. You need to prove that her love of movies is so great that she'll go see it with Kim K. All I'm saying, that's like there needs to be somewhere the movie theater's pristine. And this was bad advertisement for AMC, but there needs to be somewhere that's a rowdy crowd. And Nicole's like, I'm still fighting to hear the dialogue. I'll never quit on the movie. And that's kind of my Nicole Kidman take. But my favorite Vin Diesel moment was when he got in a slight amount of trouble for an interview that he did where he was just frankly sexist. And we're skipping that. That's not the favorite moment, but it's the sequel to that. It's the sequel to that. Is he did an apology video where it looks like he held Michelle Rodriguez hostage to say she's like, Vin loves women. He does not have anything against women. He's a great guy. And Vin Diesel's clearly thinking this apology is going to really work for him.
Well, he has a woman supporting him. A woman wouldn't support him if she didn't believe it.
And that's why I think that was the all-time Vin Diesel moment, because I think it was the first time I ever keyed into, oh, this guy's delusional.
Oh, he's so delusional. It's crazy to me. Him and The Rock, I put him in the same category, even though they beef really hard. They both have this projection of themselves that they are constantly trying to push towards people. I think they're wildly different, and I think The Rock's is a well-oiled machine, and Vin Diesel's is him with an iPhone just taking videos of himself. But it is like the cool uncle, you know, he's just constantly being like, yeah, look what I'm doing. I'm living my best life. This is exactly what everyone wants to be doing, is be me.
I love the photo of Vin Diesel where he's like really out of shape on his yacht and people are making fun of him. And it's like, well, he's the one on a yacht.
Yeah.
Which I still can't believe that Vin Diesel's been that successful. But I also, I want to throw this out there. I'm gonna list 8 things in a row. First of all, I'm doing this podcast. Some of the people here work in the industry, so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to keep it positive. But I am not threatened by Vin Diesel's pull. I think everyone, if we somehow get famous and people hear this podcast, I think they'll be like, yeah, they're not saying the wrong thing about Vin. I also want to bring up, I went to a movie premiere as somebody's guest for a Tyrese Gibson movie that was fine. I don't want to reveal too much about it. And he brought out Vin Diesel to introduce the movie, and he introduced the Fast and Furious next movie. Like, not like as it was happening, but he got the thing. He's like, Tyrese and I are family. That's why we're doing another Fast and Furious. And then, like, never, ever said the title of the movie that was going to play right after. Tyrese did. I want to give, like, Tyrese was fine in that situation, but I thought it was really funny that he brought out Vin for the crowd pop. And then Vin clearly didn't seem to know what movie he was introducing, but it did actually add to the idea that they might actually be friends and that he'll do anything for the guy. But I think it also adds to the Vin Diesel rumors that like he like will be on set for like 4 hours before he learns his lines, and he's like super lazy. So dude, shout out Vin. And we're going to go to what I think is so we're ranking these basically on how Vin Diesel movies are, like how key he is to them, with the other axis being quality, because he's very key to Bloodsport, but that movie's bad. So this movie, I think, is carried by, it's not that much Vin, though it's probably his best performance, this next movie, but it is, I think, the highest quality of movie on this list, and that's Saving Private Ryan, which you just watched for the first time for this podcast. How'd you feel about it?
I want everyone to know I had not seen this movie, and Kyle was like, oh, you should watch it for the podcast. And I sat down ready to watch this 2-hour and 40-minute movie that I had never seen, that I had to rent because it is not streaming anywhere.
$4.
And as I was watching it, I went, you know what? I should take notes on this. And as I pull out my phone, Vin Diesel gets shot and immediately dies. 20 minutes into this 2-hour and 40-minute movie that Kyle had me watch before this thing. And I had to sit there for the next 2 hours and 10 minutes and go, damn you, Kyle. How dare you?
I mean, he's not in it that much, but it made his career because he's like legitimately good in that scene.
I will say, I will give Vin Diesel more credit than The Rock, in which he actually let himself die in a movie.
Well, this was before he had any power.
It's still The Rock would have never at any point allowed himself to.
My brain will just come back in.
Yes. I will say, I did think it was funny that Vin Diesel still managed to die in this movie talking about family. I did go, that's good. He's like, oh, she reminds me of my niece. Oh, my dad, give it to my dad. And it's like, oh yeah, Vin Diesel can't do any movie without talking about family. It was built into his DNA.
So I get that you were mad that Finn went out too early, but did you like the movie?
Yeah, it was good, but man, there was sitting down and watching it with the intention of like, oh, I'm focused on Vin Diesel's performance here, and everyone says this is his best one, and it's like, oh, people say it's his best one because he's in it for 20 minutes. He doesn't have to do a lot, and then he gets to die. It's probably the one time he's actually died in a movie.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's also funny that movie has so many titans of the industry. Shout out Barry Pepper. I mean, more so Tom Hanks and Matt Damon. And Vin Diesel is, I don't know, he's just an odd part of that movie because he's so not Vin Diesel in that movie. But it's not that he's giving a different performance than he is in Fast and Furious. It's just that he had the brain delusion hadn't settled in yet. He couldn't do that today. His brain doesn't function the same way.
I am impressed that of that crew, obviously Tom Hanks was famous, Matt Damon was famous already, but of that crew from that movie, Vin Diesel somehow happens to be one of the more famous ones. Because I was like, I don't recognize any of the rest of these guys.
Yeah.
And they're in it for like a majority of the movie.
I mean, Tom Sizemore was like famous at the time, and then sadly he passed away. But he his career lost steam really quickly. I should note, maybe he did something bad. I don't know. I'm just going to ballpark that of if he did, then boo Tom Sizemore. I'm not putting that on his name. I hope he was a good guy. But he's really great in this movie, so I do think it's shocking that his career didn't take off. But I did kind of announce I didn't do the research on that one. But Giovanni Ribisi, I just want to shout out that he's still in stuff. He's the medic.
Yes.
And he's still in stuff. I think he's been very talented. And now he's a cinematographer.
He is?
Yeah, he completely changed his career. He was the cinematographer for a movie called Strange Darling last year, and he restored the cameras that I believe got Brady Corbet to do VistaVision for The Brutalist, and then Paul Thomas Anderson heard that VistaVision was a format that was now going to be in theaters again like it was able to do, and then he did it for one battle after another. So you got to give Giovanni Ribisi some credit. You got to respect the GOAT, Gio.
Again, all the characters who die in that movie are the ones who are the most famous.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
Matt Damon, he's Private Ryan. That's the first movie where people have to go and save him. And now we've had 20 of those. We've had The Martian.
Well, it's the Matt Damon cameo jump scare halfway through the movie where you go, wait, he's in this?
Shout out Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Moving on. Now, Saving Private Ryan, it does lead us to one final question. Do you think Steven Spielberg regrets casting Vin Diesel in this movie? Do you think Steven Spielberg looks at the Fast movies and goes, oh, God, what have I done?
I don't think so, because I don't think Vin Diesel got the big head from Saving Private Ryan. I would be curious if he was one of the other characters in Saving Private Ryan, where he lasted for a majority of the movie, if Vin Diesel would not have gone down the route he did. Like, if maybe he wasn't giving – maybe Steven Spielberg did this to him. Like, he feels guilt for not giving Vin Diesel a larger platform to really show his acting chops, and instead resulted in, well, you know what? I'm going to make 10 movies in the same franchise because that's the only thing people seem to really want me to be in.
And that's where we're going next. So we're going to number 2. We're going Furious 7. And I'm going to have to explain myself to all of our loyal listeners out there. Fast 5 is generally considered the best Fast and Furious movies. But I think Furious 7 is better. And I think it is more Vin Diesel because he had more power by this time. He was already beefing with The Rock. So they couldn't really be on screen together. There's a scene where they're in the hospital together, and they clearly didn't film it together if you go back and rewatch.
I actually think they did.
You think they did? I heard it was a stand-in.
There's a chance, but I've watched these movies I don't know how many times because I love this franchise. 8 is really the one where all of a sudden that beef started to be. I do think it started on 7, but I think the bigger thing about 7 was The Rock had to fulfill his WWE contract, which is why he couldn't be in most of that movie, which is why that's filmed the way it is. I don't know how much of that was them beefing, because I do think there is a shot where you can see both of them. And that is the only reason why 7 is one of the ones I think they are in the room together.
I believe 6 was the origin of the beef because The Rock started to get mad that Vin wasn't showing up on time. And I think 7, it probably started taking off. And then 8, they were like not willing to be on screen together.
Well, I stand by Paul Walker was a big factor in those movies in terms of cohesion. Paul Walker clearly never had an ego about any of this, and I think he brought Vin down to earth a lot and was that barrier between The Rock and Vin. But when you lose Paul Walker, you lose this person who's so intricate to this franchise. All of a sudden now you have two big head honchos with no buffer in the middle.
And The Rock at the time, and still is like the bigger star, he's got other projects, and Vin wants to win an Oscar for the Fast, so there starts to be a huge conflict. But the reason why I think Furious 7 is the best, so you had James Wan directing it. I think he's got the slickest look to the movie, but that's not really the core of it. The core of it is Jason Statham, the best villain that they've had. The scene where the hospital's completely destroyed and then Statham's just walking out like he wasn't even touched rocks. He fights The Rock, great sequence. I also think The Rock has a ton of juice in this movie, just as an action star. Like when he sees an explosion in the background of LA and then he just flexes off the cast and he goes, "Daddy's gotta go to work," is the greatest thing I've ever seen. That's like true prime 80s movie. Like Stallone and Schwarzenegger dreamed of that moment. It's
100%.
like that's the perfect action star moment. I think that it actually does hit the emotional beat of saying bye to Paul Walker correctly. I think they just actually did do that well. But I think the thing that we have to note is this movie made $1.5 billion, and it had something in this movie called Race Wars.
Yeah, it's a question.
Like, it's insane. It's a questionable name, and I think that's when you could see the Vin Diesel. Also, we should note the Race Wars are car racing. But you can't call it that. And I think that that's also where you start seeing that Vin Diesel is starting to get more and more power. And it's like right before this franchise goes too completely off the rails. I still watch them all.
Well, Race Wars is in the first one. They call them Race Wars, which obviously that came out in 2001. It was a lot. You could say Race Wars, and
but this time they have a Race Wars banner. Like it's bigger. Like they're referring to it as like
it's better than the franchise was originally going to be called Race Wars. That was the original idea, and then they eventually went with Fast and Furious. But could you imagine Race War 2, Two Race, Two Wars? Race Wars, Tokyo Drift.
That's the title that goes the worst.
Yeah.
Because then it implies where you're getting racist with it. But what I want to say is in the first one, like it is called Race Wars. I also never understood that because they're street racing. Everyone understands what a race is. There's no war element to the race. There's just a series of street races. It could be like tournament race. Like to go straight, like I don't know. I think it was poorly thought. But in Fast 7, when they bring out the banner, and then also it's got Michelle Rodriguez not having her memory, and he has to take her to the gravesite, and that scene's just really funny. And yeah, and then also when at the end when he beats Statham by stomping on the
that is the start of Dom Toretto is actually a superhero. and or Jesus. I did once.
Whichever Vin Diesel feels that day.
I did once in college watch all 10. Vin Diesel is clearly, he breaks concrete. He survives 100-foot fall.
In the last one, there's going to be like, each one is a life lesson.
Yeah, I think so. I stand by. I used to have a list of Dom Toretto is Jesus. The end of these is going to be he's going to die and be reborn. Like, that's how these movies are going to end. He's going to be Car Jesus.
I mean, the guy's name is Vin Diesel, so I think it works. But no, when he says the street always wins, that's the only time that the Fast movie has pulled off like a, in my opinion, iconic one-liner. This movie hits the most like gleeful action movie beats. Also, there's the Ronda Rousey cameo, which is fun. But then the driving from the car into another building is kind of fun. I think this movie has the most fun to it, and also does hit the one actual emotional beat well. But the thing that I mentioned that I wanted to talk about with Fast and Furious before this is Helen Mirren. Now, she's not in this one.
Kyle tells this story all the time.
But he has like way more chemistry with Helen Mirren than he does with Michelle Rodriguez, and apparently he's friends with Michael Caine. So this gives me my theory. I think Vin Diesel was a normal man, and at some point post Iron Giant, a vampire thought that Vin Diesel had some heat on his career, and it might not have been a vampire. It could have been a mad scientist. It could have been a shapeshifter, but somebody took his brain and replaced it with a brain with delusions of grandeur. And that's when the Vin Diesel we know and love stopped being Mark Sinclair and took off like this. And so my theory is that vampire, whatever, was like 30 years older than him. And that's why when they get to people that they're the same age as, they got so much heat. but when they are talking to young people, they get in trouble for sexism. So that's my Vin Diesel take. Also, that's why he's apparently such a big fan of Fellini movies. Federico Fellini, the Italian director who made some incredible movies, art films, but I don't know if he's actually ever watched them. But he did claim that he caused The Rock to give a Fellini-esque performance in I believe it was Fast 10. He called it had to be 7 or 8.
Yes,
because it couldn't have been the one that he just had the cameo in. But yeah, and then he wants to reunite the family. I love Vin Diesel because he's such a diva. I think that is, to me, the core of why I love watching Vin Diesel on screen, because he's an enjoyable presence on top of being a completely insane person that is not that talented. Like, he is the most shockingly successful actor of our time, and I think that has to be appreciated, and that's what we're doing on this podcast.
I just think I enjoy him thoroughly in the Fast franchise because it is a franchise that doesn't have to be good to be enjoyable. So you can have Vin Diesel be the main character of these and be like, yes, I believe everything he's saying. And the other thing is, I do love how much he actively believes, oh, these are Oscar-winning films. I go, yes, Vin, I agree. All of these should have won an Oscar at this point.
I believe, like, Vin is great because he's so sincere. Like, he truly believes in all these crazy shit that he says.
I do think it carries through, at least in the performance for most of these Fast and Furious movies. Like you said, he's by himself in a lot of these, but I do think he's phoning it in a sense of, oh, he can get away with just kind of saying lines very slowly and learning them like an hour before. But I genuinely think he really wants to make these movies, and I think he wants them all to be good, and in his mind they are all good, and also in my mind they are all good.
I don't know if I agree with all of them.
They're great, Kyle.
I want to note two things. I do want to throw this question to you. Who did better when they had creative control of their own franchise? Vin Diesel or Tom Hardy controlling the Venom franchise?
Does he really have control?
Well, he got a story by credit on 2 of them.
But I think that's like a Daniel Craig on the James Bond. Like, it's out of desperation to try to just save any sort of semblance of this, because I stand by this. That last Venom movie, man, it was not great. If he has a writing credit on that one, I'm so sorry, Tom Hardy. That's really unfortunate for you.
I skipped that one. But what I will say, I also think what's notable is Vin was he didn't come back for the second one. He only has a cameo in the third one. Is that him loving these movies so much? Do you think it was out of desperation for his career? Do you think it's a true thing now? But when do you think he actually fell in love with Fast and Furious? Was it just always he was in love with Paul Walker? What do you think it was?
I think him and Paul Walker clearly had a good relationship. I stand by the first one is one of their best just acting performances in these, because there's no
more
ego.
Normal.
There's no ego involved. They're just regular guys and they're able to do things. And I actually say that's the most actual emotion Vin Diesel ever gives in his voice. But I think he loved the franchise when it was 4, but he realized how important he was to it with 3, because they went, we will give you the rights to Riddick if you do this cameo. And he went, that's how important I am to you.
Oh, okay.
That you were willing to give up a whole nother franchise just for me to be in this one.
And then he took his power and he went mad with power.
Yeah, well, because when it came to 4, Paul Walker was like, no, I'm not doing it. And Vin Diesel is the one who went, no, dude, we can actually make this good. And then they proceeded to make the worst one.
Oh,
right
you agree
before.
4 is the worst one?
4 is objectively the worst.
Okay.
Just miss on all levels. You fridge Michelle Rodriguez. You write it by bringing her back eventually. But, like, you take one of the key players and just immediately kill her off for motivation for 2 of the other characters.
I also want to bring up, well, no, actually I don't. Let's move on to the next movie. I was going to say something really wild. All right. So, and now, our number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 1, not titled Volume 1 at the time, but, need to specify now which one you're talking about. As I said, Saving Private Ryan is probably the best movies in. This movie, I think, is the most Vin Diesel, because Groot doesn't really need to be Vin Diesel. There's a lot of people that probably could have done it. He's not even as good a voice actor as the dude playing a raccoon. Shout out Bradley Cooper. I do really like you as that raccoon. And we will not be doing a podcast like this if we ever do top 5 Bradley Cooper movies. It'll be a lot of positives about the career decisions he's made. Shout out Bradley Cooper. Sign on to my projects. It didn't need to be Vin Diesel. the movie's great without him, but he somehow does come through with the "We Are Groot" line that I think is the best emotional climax of any Marvel movie. I think there's a lot, obviously, James Gunn directing, but it does happen to be his voice there, and I think that even though all he says is he changes it up, I think you can feel the emotion in it, and I think somehow, some way, Vin Diesel nailed it that one time and became crucial to my favorite and I think best Marvel movie. It's the one I'll vouch for the most. I loved watching it in theaters when it came out, and you gotta give Vin Diesel props for it.
Oh, especially that first one, because he recorded "We Are Groot" in I don't know how many languages. They didn't get a dubber. He learned
I've seen
bunch
that
of
video.
other languages to actually repeat those lines. And I think because as a kid, that would have meant the world to me if I didn't speak English and I was watching these movies, knowing that that actor spent the time to learn it and read those lines over and over again. I am also very curious because James Gunn, he's very vocal now about a lot of his decisions in terms of like making these films and everything. But I don't think he's ever gone on record of what he thinks about Vin Diesel. Because that to me is such a weird. He's clearly so close with so many of these guys, but he's never really expressed the Vin Diesel stuff. So I don't know how it came about that Vin Diesel was the one that he put up for this movie. Like versus like he has Sylvester Stallone doing so much voice work for other stuff. Why was that not one of his choices for this?
So,
I don't think it would have worked as well, but it's curious to me that Vin ultimately was the decision for this.
So that leads me to have a couple guesses, but I've also noticed that too, is that you could claim that he worked with Vin Diesel less because you probably only need a few days in the voice recording studio, but that hasn't stopped him from using Bradley Cooper in cameos, seeming to be friends with him. Bradley Cooper even came on the press tour so Bradley Cooper's Marvel deal was that he didn't have to do press, but then he did do press for Volume 3, I think probably because he seems to love the movies and he seemed to love playing Rocket, and it was Rocket's movie.
Yeah.
But I believe Vin Diesel was in kind of the press junkets for at least the first one, and I don't remember him really interacting with any of the cast ever. He has not been brought into the DCU. There's the James Gunn runs, and a lot of the other people, like there's photos of Chris Pratt on set with James Gunn. Dave Bautista was the first choice for Peacemaker, but he said no, and I imagine Dave Bautista will somehow land his way in that universe. Bradley Cooper's had a cameo. There's so many people that James Gunn reuses from project to project, and I agree, it's so notable that Vin Diesel is completely absent and like never mentioned, especially because Diesel's a comic guy.
Yeah,
reportedly.
It may be that Vin Diesel just thinks of himself too highly and too expensive to do stuff
He's
like that.
I'm only playing
Batman.
Batman.
He got, oh my God, he got a franchise for a cameo. Like, that's got to give yourself a big ego boost for being like, well, why don't you give me my own franchise, James Gunn, just a cameo in Man of Tomorrow?
Yeah, maybe Vin Diesel will be Brainiac and we're going to eat all of our words.
That would be.
But it's going to be Chris Pratt. He's the voice actor king. He's Garfield. He's Mario. He's going to be Brainiac.
No, Brainiac will be, what's his name from the bad guy in Volume 3?
Oh, the guy, he was Myrn in Peacemaker.
I think there's a chance he will be.
But also separate from Vin Diesel for a second, even though this podcast is about Vin Diesel, I want to give mad props to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Incredible score that goes underrated because the soundtrack was probably the most popular and I think one of the best of that entire decade. I think it's Chris Pratt's best performance, because I think he's actually genuinely charming in this one. I think he's also charming in the third one. I think outside of James Gunn's hands, Chris Pratt does not hit the same. But Bradley Cooper, convincing Bradley Cooper to play a raccoon, I think in 2013 was probably a really difficult thing. But he's the perfect choice for Rocket. The scene where he's like, I didn't ask to be born is one of the best, most emotions any Marvel characters has. And also it's genuinely funny. It's sweet. It's got everything you want in a movie. And I'd say in the same vein of like a classic, like Back to the Future, where you could laugh, you could cry, there's romance, there's everything. I'm not saying Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 is as good as Back to the Future, but I'm not saying that. I'll go on record. I think that movie's awesome.
What do you think these Guardian movies would look like if Vin Diesel had a bigger hand in them?
Horrible. I mean, okay, is he constantly battling with James Gunn or is Gunn out?
I don't know.
Because if it's a battle, I think they would look worse and kind of funny. But if you just push Gunn out and Vin Diesel getting his buddy to direct it, I think it's going to look a lot worse.
I think Vin Diesel having more control would push James Gunn out. There's no world in which Vin gets a hand on the wheel and James Gunn goes, yeah, I'm fine keeping one hand on the wheel.
They should give Vin Diesel, they should tell him he has control of Avengers 7. But instead of actually making it, they hear what he comes up with and then do it as a what if season. And the season isn't what if in universe, it's what if Vin Diesel was in charge. And with that note, I want to take us to our producer, AC Hoffman, because that is the top 5 Vin Diesel movies of all time, because I can't imagine he'll be in any one that are better than these. But if he is, we'll come back to this podcast, because I believe our producer has a game for us.
So the game for today is Bald Brawl. It is 6 bald people are going to fight, and it's going to be tournament style. But the twist is it's just them being themselves with a weapon from Clue. Excluding the gun.
We're not taking bald characters. We're taking bald actors.
Bald characters from shows or from movies, and we're giving them a weapon from Clue. Or we're going to guess what weapon from Clue they would use besides the gun. Of course, that's cheating.
That's cheating. That is cheating.
And then we're going to see who would y'all choose would win. So the first one is going to be Mr. Clean versus Shrek. Who do y'all see coming out on top?
So I think you should give us the options for weapons from Clue, because I know there's the candlestick, but I don't want to miss any.
There's
We
the
got
pipe, metal pipe.
The pipe, right?
Yeah.
We got the rope. What are y'all
Shrek
thoughts
might be
so
a rope
far?
guy.
I would think so, because I wouldn't think he would need an actual weapon.
I think
do
our
stand
audio
by.
producer Maggie disagrees with that.
Mr. Clean has the military experience to beat up Shrek, so I don't even think he needs a weapon.
I mean, Shrek is an ogre. I think he's a lot more powerful than Mr. Clean, just in general. So Shrek is canonically taller than the average human.
The question is here, does Mr. Clean have magical clean powers, in which case Shrek lives in a swamp?
That's dangerous.
I kind of think there's an advantage there in terms of Mr. Clean may just have to one touch Shrek, and Shrek will just dissolve.
Ooh.
He'll just
I'm actually pretty convinced by this argument.
I was about to say, I think he just would just dissolve. I think he'd just be too dirty.
This
Mr.
is like a
Clean's
Pokemon
energy,
battle.
It is. It's like
His move is super effective.
He cancels him out because he's way too clean.
Okay, Mr. Hoffman, what is
just to
the
update the Clue weapons?
Clue weapons?
I'm going to disavow 2, the gun and the dagger. I forgot that
there's a straight up
too.
dagger.
Yeah,
But
Mr. Clean just shanks Shrek and he just bleeds out in the swamp.
And then, from what we discussed, he only does that if he hates Shrek.
Yeah,
he could painlessly kill a guy, but he does that if he's just like, I got mad beef.
There are 4 options, and I'm realizing 3 of them are just blunt metal objects, which is the candlestick, the wrench, and the lead pipe. So we can just call it pipe and rope. Everybody's got a pipe and a rope.
Because if Dom Toretto is in this, if you give him a wrench, specifically Dom Toretto can kill a man with a wrench. So I think Dom Toretto just kind of trucks that. I mean, it's one of the few times The Rock has almost lost is when Vin Diesel had a wrench.
Are we gonna? But I also want to bring up if Dom is involved, are we gonna bring up his canonical feat of surviving a collapsed building on top of him?
He literally pulls chains and breaks concrete with his bare hands. Dom Toretto is.
That was F9, right?
Yeah, it's F9. I just remember that's one of the times. That was the moment where
Cardi B's in that.
I went, maybe Dom Toretto is Jesus. Maybe that was that scene.
So this is important.
Okay.
So everybody that you see in commercials or you see in the movies or you see in the shows, they have their strengths.
Okay.
So in the fight versus Mr. Clean and Shrek.
Oh, it would 100% be Mr. Clean, and he would go and sleep with Fiona afterwards.
Holy crap. And the dragon for good measure.
Mr. Clean, steal your girl.
I think Mr. Clean, as Logan brought up, he just has so much power of cleaning, and Shrek is a swamp guy that it's just the attack's super effective. Mr. Clean is not my favorite in this whole tournament, but just in general. So Maggie's also saying Mr. Clean. She's a good friend of ours. I was going to say this is her first day, but it's not really. We kind of know her. But she has brought up that Mr. Clean could mix ammonia and bleach. And he most likely is impervious to that.
Yeah,
We've not seen it, but we can assume. So he's got a lot of weapons, and maybe he will be the favorite to win this tournament, but we got to see the other people.
All right. So the second fisticuffs would be between in-canon Vin Diesel, or Don, versus an in-canon universe minion.
Oh,
just
God.
Just one.
Okay, So
minions are almost indestructible.
Yeah, they are. Do any of them actually ever die?
No, but here's the thing. Dom can get the minion to space, and I think that qualifies as a victory. They have rocket cars. We know the minions are gullible. Dom is not the most clever guy, but in this situation, you give Dom a wrench, which we know he has. He can build the rocket car with Ludacris, maybe. Maybe he might even need Ludacris's help the second time. And he just says to the minion, hey, you get in here. He flies into space. Also, the minions will work for whoever's the biggest villain in the world. So this depends. If this is actually Dom's never been that much of a villain, so he would never have the minion on his side.
Well, he was a villain in 8, but does Cypher
Yeah.
technically count as larger?
So-
It depends on what point is this fight happening, because maybe
The minion might team up.
the minion might be sitting around next to John Cena while they're fisticuffing.
That's true. So I think Dom beats the minion pretty clearly.
I mean, is this a fight to the death or knockout? Because you can knock out a minion.
That's true. But canonically, a minion might not be able to die. But a minion probably can't breathe in space. Unclear. But it's truly we must wonder.
I think it could sit in space like Alien and Alien Romulus and cocoon itself until it gets unhatched somewhere, and then he just comes back to life.
So if that's the case, Dom will probably eventually die of old age. Maybe. It's unconfirmed.
Well, again, if this is a fight to the death, then I think the minion just wins in terms of just genetics. But I think if it's a
But I don't think
knockout
Dom can
fight-
die.
No, he's Jesus. He'll just be reborn. I think, especially if we're giving clue weapons, like if the minion just had whatever they have in Despicable Me, he would win. But we're giving a minion a rope, he might accidentally hang himself.
Yeah, that's true. Does the minion get its kung fu skills from Minions 2? Actually, we already discussed. That's a yes. But I don't think Dom would struggle with that type of kung fu. So I think you know what? I'm gonna go Dom wins.
Yeah, well, we have to say Dom wins on this podcast.
Yeah.
Let's go. The third brawl is Popeye. I guess, yeah, that's
Is
right.
Popeye bald?
Popeye is bald. He just wears a hat all the time.
I mean,
Or he might be Charlie Brown in it with like a singular.
he is Charlie Browning
He's
it,
Charlie
but
Brown
that's
in it?
fine with me.
Okay. Versus, and I believe her name is Okoye.
Okoye?
Okoye. Thank you.
That's Denai Guerrero's character, right?
Yes.
From Black Panther.
It's
So the last
toast.
fight,
Yeah.
I should have left it. I'm going to redo that. The third fight is going to be between Popeye and Okoye.
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 This is the best part of the
Yeah,
pod.
you can't cut this part out.
I'll take it.
Okoye.
I'll take
Okoye.
it
I
from
keep
AC.
messing it
So
up.
Popeye versus Okoye. I think Okoye's got this, but
Yeah.
Popeye is, I believe, destructible. I'm not a Popeye expert. He has spinach, but I'm sure Wakanda has better steroids. Like
I don't
100%
I mean,
confident.
they're straight up eating the purple flower. I
Yeah.
mean, that is essentially Wakandan steroids.
Popeye, I'm going to do the argument that basketball fans use against Bill Russell in the 1950s, 60s, that he was playing against male men. But Popeye was literally fighting against, like, sailors and pirates in, like, the 1910s or whatever. Like, Okoye's level of comp is way harder. She's the LeBron James to the Bill Russell. It's a
Yeah.
very clear comparison in my mind.
It's like the purple flower versus spinach and the cartoon characteristics
That's true.
of Popeye. Where
This
it's
isn't
like,
Robin Williams Popeye.
yeah, his neck could be 6 foot long and stretched out, and he'll slink back in like an accordion.
My question is, has Popeye ever fought a sharp weapon? Well, actually, Okoye, does she get her spear?
No, she gets.
She only gets the.
She gets a
she only
lead
gets the
pipe
blunt.
and or a rope.
So, because I was thinking she could just pop Popeye in the eye and then he's done. But
Yeah.
never mind. I still think she's coming out on top.
Oh, easily. I mean, you still give her that lead pipe. All of a sudden, it's a really sharp lead pipe, and then Popeye has a lead pipe in his eye.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to Okoye.
Yeah.
And a three-way standoff. You got Mr. Clean, Dom, and Okoye.
I'm jumping in first. After hyping up Okoye in the last match, she's toast because we don't have evidence that the other two can die, but we know that she is not immortal. She
Yeah.
hasn't died yet in the franchise, but we do know that she is not immortal, so she's toast. Mr. Clean and Dom might be in an eternal battle,
Yeah.
but Okoye is sadly going to go out pretty quickly, I think. What do you think?
No, I mean, it makes total sense. Dom Toretto clearly is incapable of dying, and Mr. Clean is a god beyond our understanding.
This is also perfect because I do know somebody, it's a friend of my brother's, that thought Vin Diesel was Mr. Clean. So I do want to note that my brother was in elementary school. I know the friend's name, but I don't think my brother's talked to him in 10 years, so I will not announce it on this podcast. But yes, so there is a possibility that Mr. Clean is related to Dom. And that throws the whole thing into a loop. But Dom, he's going to have some oil on him. But I don't think he's as susceptible to getting cleaned out.
No,
like
I
Shrek.
mean, Mr. Clean can't just like stand next to him and put out a hand and make him disappear. They actually have to fight here. But I stand by Mr. Clean. Oh, I don't know.
Because he can like float around like a genie.
Can he?
I think, right?
I thought he could just slide around.
Mr. Clean or Dom?
Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean.
We know Dom's capabilities.
Yeah.
Dom can also get the director and writer fired and redone if he's unhappy with the result.
Yeah, the hard thing about this fight is, unfortunately, neither of them were in the room together ever at one point, so they couldn't actually fight. They just used stand-ins the whole time.
There is a certain meta stance where if Mr. Clean can float around in space, Dom can go into Vin Diesel mode and meta rewrite what Dom is.
That's true.
So
He's
they
done it
both have
before.
godlike meta
He's done
personalities.
it before.
I mean, Dom Toretto already has superhuman strength, durability. He has the ability to turn anyone evil good.
Ooh. And then through the power of family, I think you're right. He's already turned one bald guy onto his team, Jason Statham.
And
He
he
can do it
he
again.
even killed one of his friends, and he managed to be like, you know what, you're good now.
And then the friend got brought back to life.
Because
so-
they had to retroactively be like, oh, it's fine, they're friends with this murderer because he didn't actually kill his
Mhm.
friend.
So shout out Dom. I think that we have decided that Dom could beat Mr. Clean.
It has to be Dom Toretto goes, you're family now, Mr. Clean. And Mr. Clean goes, thank you, and dissolves like Sandman to the ether.
So within canon, Dom beats Mr. Clean, Shrek, Minions, Popeye, and Okoye.
See,
Oh,
the
yeah.
one thing I will say is I think Dom would have struggled against Shrek because Shrek already has the life lesson of loving his family. But so I think Dom probably could have won that battle, but I think he was a little bit fortunate with the bracket. Shrek was resistant to his most powerful move.
Yeah, Shrek kind of really got the bad end of that stick, which going against the dirtiest, going against the cleanest. And it does kind of feel like powers beyond our controlling just cannot stop that fight.
Shrek might have a better chance next year.
Maybe in the
Bald-
next lineup we'll have like Kirby. There's more bald.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Whoa.
Well, Shrek 5's coming out next year, and, you know, we'll be
Ugly
on
Shrek.
season 4 of the podcast by then. So we'll be talking about could Shrek and his entire family take down Dom and his family.
Well,
or
is
Kirby.
there the rumored plot of Shrek 5 is they come to the real world? Maybe they come to the real world and actually meet Vin Diesel.
Oh, that would be crazy. I
Or
know that
maybe Vin Diesel plays the live action version of Shrek.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
no. He's going to have to wear a suit.
Yeah.
Like a big belly suit.
At this point in his life, he does not have to. There's a reason Vin Diesel is never shirtless anymore in those movies,
Well,
and he's
they
only
also-
wearing the
They're
sleeveless.
also editing his physique.
Oh yeah, his
That's
arm,
been announced a
there's
few times.
No way.
His
that it's not.
biceps are CGI.
Yeah. There's no way they aren't.
So thank you for the game, AC.
Thank you.
That was wonderful. I love talking about Vin Diesel on this fine morning from this beautiful basement. But I wanted to ask Logan 2 more questions before he goes. My first one is, how do you want the Fast franchise to end?
I had a theory for a while ago. This was back when it was rumored that Fast 10 was going to be 3 parts instead of 2.
May it please be 4.
I thought at the start of 11 they would recreate Paul Walker, and as like a test they would have him be in one fight scene to see how audiences reacted, and then if audiences were like, yeah, we're fine with this, then in the 12th one, the final one, Paul Walker would
You
be
mean 10 part 3?
yes, he would be a fully CGI character in the entirety, playing a major role in that movie.
Oh, God. I would boycott.
But I think of any actor that they would do that for, somehow Paul Walker would be the one that most people would go, yeah, I'm fine with this one.
I think it's also the fan base of Fast and Furious would be more likely to tolerate something like that than if Marvel deep fake Chadwick Boseman into another movie.
I completely. But I also think the Paul Walker family has clearly been in full support of a lot. I mean, they were a big part of 7, which is what
Yeah.
made that CGI and the what is it? Is it Weta that did those VFX?
I think so. It's also his brother's the stand-in and like a
Yeah.
lot of shots from the back, which just makes sense.
I mean, everyone talks about the one shot at the end of 7, but you don't realize for a third of that movie, Paul Walker is actually not there.
Yeah.
And I think that is more impressive than the shot they do at the end. It's the fact that people only notice the shot at the end and they don't think about the other hundreds of shots that Paul Walker isn't there.
Yeah.
For it to actually end, I stand by you actually need to kill off some characters. You need to have some characters at the start of 10 Part 2 die. That plane crash actually needs to have killed a couple
Yeah.
of them.
Because
Or some
I
people.
think that was not the intention that those characters were going to die, but now that they are cutting budget, I just wonder if they are just writing every single one of those people out.
There's a chance. I don't know how you do an Endgame style ending to this. I mean, I want an Endgame style ending where it's Vin Diesel up against every single villain that he's been. It's him alone in his car, and you slowly see everyone else's cars coming down the hill, including Paul Walker. But you never actually see him. You just see his car. So you know he's there and he's part of the team. That is, I think, truthfully, I want Paul Walker's character to be there, but I don't want Paul Walker to be there. Like, I want it to be very much clear that, like, oh, Brian is here at the end. Because I stand by, 8 through 10 would be such better movies if Paul Walker was still alive and part of these movies. I think he balanced it out so much more.
I think Vin wouldn't have tried to go win the Oscar because he has his natural scene partner there, and they might have still been having fun. I think the Fast and Furious movies should end, not this one, but they should end on a cliffhanger that never gets resolved.
That's kind of what it is right now.
I know, but I think they should announce that they're coming back for one more, then still give it a cliffhanger and then never address that. As we're wrapping up the podcast, one more question to you. What is the next movie that you're super excited for?
And this is just any movie. It doesn't have to be the next Vin Diesel movie.
It doesn't have to be the next movie. It could be anything. And if you want to, you could even make an imaginary movie, as we talked about off pod.
Movie I'm most excited for next. Avatar is whatever. No, I can't say. I'm gonna go see it, but I'm not like crazy excited for it. I gotta say, we'll stick with the Guardians theme. James Gunn's Supergirl. After Superman, I am just ready to see what's next. And I know James Gunn isn't directing it, but he clearly has a major hand in it. And I've just always been a DC guy, so man, I'm just so looking forward to that. We have Lanterns coming out, and then Supergirl. I'm just fully back on the DC train.
Oh,
just
nice. Okay, great. I would like to thank you for coming as a guest.
Thanks for having me.
I'd like to thank our producer, AC Hoffman, for coming up with the game and being a great producer. I'd like to thank Maggie Meskel for being the GOAT. And we'll see y'all next week. Bye.